Tonight we have a special presentation called the Bowhead Harvest. The Bowhead Harvest took place in 1991 at Tupkuk on the coast of northern Yukon. This video was produced by the Inuvialuit Communications Society for the Joint Secretariat in Inuvik. Tonight is the first part of a two-part documentary. Welcome to SUAANGAN. I'm Stan Ruben. Long ago, Inuvialuit hunters hunted in groups. They traveled in large umiaks, usually with a sail attached. They also traveled with kayaks. If the hunters were fortunate that a bowhead give itself up in not-so-deep waters, a hunt would begin. Tom Elanik passed away in the winter of 1986. He was a respected elder and a prominent hunter. Before his passing, he told the story of his young days when his grandfather hunted the bowhead whale. The hunt took place just off the shores of Shingle Point, closer to a place called Nyakunnak.
Talit katalak tok tahamonge ayak matan ayayona mananoy kaya lugak tamata kaya lukatulalat ilokatik pinagalirak lutik uniyat kutukwa uniyakalo kinugulo Kalian sugulu, tak apa nak ikut nak undi jangan lo. Kalian sugulu, tak mangga, kerja luar ada kami. Aku tinggi nak kerja luar nak tinggi. Nak letik, anak ayah tu berdua tahun. Haleu na katimatap ko. Halit. Uniyat ko. Umayurat pa bahon maglakata na bukta wakta na nakakasila pukarab. Dahil magakam na. Dahil naitilugit. Manna tinnohimak paktaak tautaakkigat. Ada puilai vivilulit. Taita kaaktitsiuhani killut muneakonna tungalu takwanu nakaluit mipkahlu. Tabragok. Takkilullin sinjuek muerat. Laat muktor nakak. Unewak matik. Angwa hotik naulit kalahnya aktorat. Punya ngecok. Punya cok. Tana isak menaulik kalu. Uniyam panatit ka. Kalikira kirat. Kilot mo. Tawar kilot mo tayo na ikilakatik. Puyak ako. Huwag ako natasakin ako puyak sabi Uniyawok tema. Nakanabil ka. Nakatik. Hundaw na. Akamayakok. Akamak. Temagok. Kilot mo. Tema. Tamat ka yun. Tamale kadita tangwa hoting naulik halugo. Kallir lo hoting. Makulit palit kallir din nakatu. Naulik halugo tayo. Pisik migado. Pisik kalakat. Okoro hangin ako matumang mapatulog. Okoro ako palig. Tama. Nakilot muntik lautin na kaya. Nunat mutingit kaya. Kanok tokot tisilait kat. Pihiglo tokot negit kat. Tamara paga ihima pagali himadre kalawan kami kanok tayo ihimat laban yung pa. Kasi hamik pakakanakan hamik panit kakalago ipuyak kakalago. Ayak turun kila selaw di bulu. Payang kalago kila selaw di bulu. Tamara katika ketemu na pitakala kakatakin na kat. Pitakame na nga tulimanga kemako na katikot. Pitakame na kakalik kakalaga kemalo. Kakalik na tayo nakatika hamik pangmit. Tukot sulagatakan na kat. Nakamakot o kilot mo tige.
Ang ako tingahin,
Ang kaniyang itsut. Ano ka itsuk? Kung mawawalitawa niyo yung nakagod. King ko nagkangatikot. Ano ka man? Ikaw uli, matay na nalukkamot. Tingin nakatat. Ano ay manuyak kakaulot. Umaya nga tatong nakiyala ka ni. Umaya tatong nakiyulot. Tayo tawatik. Tingin nakatat kilot mo. Han manya kata ko yale hunga ina tao to akikiput. Naluro ko wakut. Akawak to andik. Tabrahik kilot mo tayo na ikilaga na kat. Ang matikapta bigatiut. Buk tayo di pakta gok. Akawak na kat. Naluluto mo. Kahit na tayo at umuluta, ikilakaw sa kasi hindi umayon na di makapit. Kundi sa kanya umitit. Sa bahay. Kundi kilakak tayo na tukot sila kamesok. Tayo na nunat mukto at umulugo. Niyakon at pit. Awal liw hangan ni tao na ni tama. Ikalagat ko. Tama ni haka. Sabra, Payuman is coming. Allo Angaga, Utclaving me a hawk, I want to give him a dog. Pishra went me all your naga. By you can't look. Kati at that. Good. Okala coming, how a duck bite, he summoned. Umurang nun, I doubted Lugo. Pimik. Blackluna book the thing, Nick. About moon. Book the hello. Book duck till you got a duck bite, he have a book duck till Lord.
Aklavik, a community of approximately 1,000, 60% of whom have Inuit ancestry, is situated on the Peel Channel of the Mackenzie River Delta. From Aklavik to Shingle Point in the Yukon's North Slope, it is about a 4-hour ride by speedboat. Aklavik is just one of 6 communities in the Inuvialuit settlement region. Along the tree line, lands, river, and sea live the descendants of whom Tom Elanik mentions in his story. We have not forgotten these stories and our right to hunt the bowhead whale. For the past 25 years, the Aklavik Hunters and Trappers Committee and the leaders of this region have been trying to get a license from the Canadian government to hunt one bowhead whale. Aklavik's latest attempt began in 1988. In 1984, the Inuvialuit Final Agreement was signed. This was the first land claim settlement in the Northwest Territories and the Yukon. This agreement, known as the IFA, gives claim to portions of the Western Arctic in the Northwest Territories and the North Slope of the Yukon. 3 goals were recognized in concluding the agreement. 1. To preserve Inuvialuit cultural identity and values within a changing northern society. 2. To enable Inuvialuit to be equal and meaningful participants in the northern and national economy and society. And 3. To protect and preserve Arctic wildlife, the environment, and biological productivity. More specifically, in Section 1429 and 1436B in the IFA states, recognition in law for the Inuvialuit right to hunt all marine mammals for subsistence purposes, where in regard to determining the allowable harvest, conservation shall be the sole consideration. Lois Harwood was a resource biologist for the Fisheries Joint Management Committee in Inuvik. FJMC was set up under the IFA to assist Canada and the Inuvialuit in managing the region's fisheries.
After the HTC had their proposal ready, it was submitted officially to the Fisheries Joint Management Committee, and the FJMC then had a session to go through it and bring themselves up to speed on the status of the stock and the whole idea of the hunt. And after a lengthy workshop on that, they decided to give the proposal official support. And they, at that time, wrote a letter and passed it to the Inuvialuit Game Council. They had a couple of meetings and went through that process themselves, and they officially sent it to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans with a request that they issue a license for Aklavik to permit them to take the whale that they'd requested. And that all took place in 1988.
With the strength of the proposal, the backing of the Inuvialuit Game Council, and Section 14.6, the final decision now lay in the hands of the Canadian government. Norm Snow is the executive director of the Fisheries Joint Management Committee.
It was a very long, drawn-out process to go through, and a very complicated one, but to justify the needs for Aklavik and the reasons why Aklavik hadn't been in the bowhead business for quite a few years. Prior to about 3 years ago, the stock size for those bowheads was so low that the Canadian government was not in a position to issue a permit for Aklavik or anyone else to be taking bowheads, because it would have been violating the principle of conservation. But with the estimates that the Alaskans had derived, the population was considered to be at a level where it could sustain a take of one bowhead by Aklavik, and after all the necessary steps were taken, the government decided to issue the license.
To date, the current estimate of the size of the bowhead stock is 7,500. In the 1800s, when the European whalers brought the commercial whaling around the Herschel Island area, the size of the stock was thought to be as large as 26,000. This same stock winters in the waters off the Bering Strait.
They winter in the Bering Sea, and then they travel past through the Bering Strait, past Point Barrow in spring, and that's where the Alaska and the Inupiat harvest them in spring, over to the Canadian Beaufort Sea in the summer, and then back again in the fall, back to the Bering Sea. And so, and it's on their return migration in the fall. That's where they're harvested again, in like along the coast near Barter Island.
Because a license had been issued at the end of June 1991, the process of ordering the equipment had to begin immediately.
There really are very few suppliers of that kind of whaling equipment in the world. We eventually obtained it from the Alaskan Native Industries Cooperative Association, which is based in Seattle. They're the ones that supply the black powder gear to the AEWC.
The hunters and families were already settled at Shingle Point, where the hunt would take place.
Well, a lot of equipment had to be assembled. It was really the nuts and bolts stuff like rope and blocks and tackle, and the darting guns and the shoulder guns and the grenades themselves. And these had to be ordered and expedited up here and then off to either a Klavik or to Shingle.
Since time immemorial, Inuit have maintained the land and the animals. As the seasons changed and the animals migrated to the region, traditional hunts took place for consumption, clothing, living, and household necessities. Such activities for centuries have been occurring in the Yukon North Slope, along the Alaskan boundaries and Canadian land and waters. Many of the Alaskan and Canadian Inuit family trees overlap, thus the constant use of the area. Today, log cabins and canvas tents replace the ancient sod house and skin tents. Extended families, like long ago, have camps situated along the 2-mile spit and on the adjacent mainland at Akpayotcha. Many of the families come to their camps in June and remain all summer harvesting the beluga, caribou, fish, geese, and berries for the winter months. Today, many of the family members come out on the weekend from their community jobs to share in the excitement. This year, the highlight would be the harvest of one bowhead whale. There would be no shortage of help. Everyone got involved, cleaning flensing knives, ulus, and any equipment needed to make the job easier. When the process of checking the equipment was being done, the shoulder gun was found to have a defective mechanism. Luckily, a hunter in a Klavik had one and it was borrowed. Normally, the fuse on the gun has a 7-second detonation delay. However, for the safety of the hunters and their boat, it was lengthened to 12 seconds. August 22nd, after overseeing all equipment being assembled and checked, the DFO officer was satisfied that all conditions required under the whaling license had been met. On this day, a small license signing ceremony took place. On hand for the signing was the 2 boat captains, Danny A. Gordon, Jacob Archie, HTC President Rini Airy, and DFO officer Neil Robinson. Such as long ago, when a special occasion takes place, a traditional feast and drum dance would follow. Much like the traditional hunt being renewed, drum dancing is again being revived in the younger generation. The next few days brought high winds, clouds, and snowfall. Time was spent ensuring the equipment was safe and tending to the camp activities, such as getting water, wood, making sure outboard motors were in working condition for the search. August 27th, the hunters boarded a plane flown in by people eager to take part in the festivities. This would be an excellent chance for them to check beyond the heavy ice pack for whales. Anxious onlookers were brought back with word of too much ice, no whales. more watching and waiting. 3 days later, 3 whales were spotted a few miles off of White Man Hill. The hunting crew went out and waited for a few hours, but the weather made rough waters and hard conditions to hunt. Back to camp. On the second day, the hunters were out again. This time they traveled to Kinguk and spotted a few whales. After some tea and coffee, awaiting the fog to lift, the search began. In the midnight sunset, the boats headed back to Tapkak. Maybe tomorrow. During these past few days, the captain and crew had requested that no one travel west in fear of scaring the bowheads. After several days of no luck, upon permission from the hunting party, families ventured out in search of caribou and fishnet the char. David Rowland, son John, and nephew Roy Smith stopped at White Man Hill to do a little spotting of their own. Sarah Miyuk and family and Diva Gordon and sons traveled to Kinguk to sight caribou, set their fishnet, and enjoy a family outing. While there, a beluga whale entertained them offshore, as well as seeing a few sprays amidst the ice pack 5 miles out. Towards the evening, the hunters back at camp heard about the sighting and quickly came out to check the situation, only to return back to camp with the sunset. The morning of September the 3rd seemed to be another regular day. The hunters met as usual at Danny A's home to discuss the day's procedures. Before leaving, Hope Gordon, mother of Danny, said a prayer of safety and good fortune, and the party was off. Today, the captain asked 2 of the safety boats to remain on shore just past White Man Hill to spot for the 2 hunting crews. Channel 1 on the CB radios had been designated strictly for the use of the hunters to communicate from boat to boat and land to water. Each crew consisted of a captain, shooter, a backup, followed by 1 safety boat of 3 men, Danny A., Titus Allen, and Billy Archie in the main boat. Early in the afternoon, the land and sea crews spotted a lone bowhead feeding inside the ice pack, close to the shore. The chase began. Captain Danny A. Gordon.
Lakakap to Shingle point me with Titus Allen. Supudimik pira kahe kinyamnya. Billy Archie got a sort of balloon out. When I see Captain Gubulung, Tabra Captain Tap to me Ubulami, down a Hakapta Nakuro, and I chok, and a holy piang at Chuki. You get an actok, Tabra Remik Tabrani, Taudu Capta, Arabania Saktut. Pihulu Tenda, Nakanak, half an hour making Nakama Huro Karakai. Nakama half an hour somebody Shipi Rahalu Idani Piraktok. Tap to me out to Capta Malikatak Sakaptigo, Puishua Tabura, Pui Lagaramata Umashira Orok. Tabra shouted Lagara in a college Kasukasibi, Tabura ticket Lagara and at Kakabulu Kilamit. Tainasera Haluba. Halu 10 minutes summa Puirala Kirok, Tabura Kalirala put 10 minutes Puirala Himan. What I can say is it was getting windy like and rough. But we just kept at it in order to get one with a little determination and with help from our captain. It was okay.
How did all the crew feel once that first strike happened?
Well, when that first strike happened, we thought we got it, but it went under. The whale went over and underwater. We lost. We didn't know where that harpoon was going to come off, but everybody was feeling happy in the boat. Nakaktit halo. Puilin man 5 minutes sama 5 minutes minakakaleksok tabra ni tamna Titus Allen Harpooner ke tabra piaksi put hapu tamna tigumira ane put kitalit pat tabra takanwak sakahima agaweman angera ya tabra 5 minutes puilin man tabra taktunga agaweman puilik kalaktok puitik sama tabra tikik tabra tikipiak tikilu me ap tikinik tabra he tabra nauligaga tabra ni agawek tut tabra agawek unak tut tabra ni asi 4 hours sama si pichuna put 3 hours luni tabra agawek niya ko tabmani me tagayo mi tamani right kenya galak to kakawek niya anak ay ya sinyak tu kiu pam bam kutumo natip tigini digi explode pada time explode mo taktok sinyak tok ya agalan kau nagigibut tumakko sinyak ti. We felt all happy there, more than happy, with the last darting gun when I put the darting gun on there towards the head there, and when it went off, came up, flipped over, down, and was bubbling. Everybody was feeling happy.
Couple of sticks. Yeah. Couple of sticks. Right there, it's good. Good stick.
Hey!
My job? What we got here?
That was muscle.
What
There if you want.
you teach higher up?
Yeah, I got some.
Right here?
Hold on.
What you looking for?
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Nervous?